drone pilot mistakes. Welcome back, drone fans. Today we're going to be looking at 9 drone pilot mistakes that you might make as a new flyer. Mistake number 1. Not knowing the drone laws of your country. There are drone laws in most countries around the world. For example, in America, the FAA is the organization that regulates these drone laws. That means if you're using the drone to make money, you'll need your Part 107 license to fly commercially. Otherwise, you can run into the trouble with the law for breaking it if you are caught flying in a zone, for example, where you're not allowed to fly. These are no-fly zones and they're highlighted red on the map. So, being a responsible pilot starts with you. These laws are known as aviation laws and they include no-fly zones as well as altitudes that you are allowed to fly at. Remember, drone fans, there are other aircraft in the air, so we have to fly responsibly. Which leads us to mistake number 2, not paying attention to the propellers. The propellers is the part of the drone that gives the drone lift. With the DJI Mini SE, there are about 8 propellers that work on this drone, 2 on each arm. Now, the good thing about this drone is that it is very light and the propellers are very easy to install. These propellers are also collapsible propellers and they're held together with screws. Not all propellers are held together with screws, as you'll see in this example. For example, the Mavic Air 2 will use a press-to-lock mechanism. So these propellers are locked in place by pressing down on the motor and twisting it in either clockwise or anti-clockwise motion to get the propellers on and off again. It is also important that you make sure that you're installing the correct propeller to the correct arm. So if you're flying a DJI Mini SE, make sure that the propellers that have the mark goes to the arm that has the marks. In this example, we can see that this is a fixed wing propeller. It cannot bend or collapse the way our DJI Mini SE propeller can. So we can all agree that propellers come in different sizes and shapes, and the way they go on and off again can be different as well. Always double check to make sure that those propellers are on, so you can get the best possible flight. Speaking of best possible flight, up next is mistake number 3, flying in bad conditions. Different drones will have different levels of wind resistance, which is a drone's ability to resist the wind as it's flying. With that in mind, we should never fly out in the direction of the wind. The reason for this is because when we're coming back home, the wind may be too strong and we may very well lose our drone and never see it again. So it's better practice to go out going into the direction of the wind, and when we're coming back, we can have the wind at our tail end to give us a boost when we're coming back. Never fly your drone in rainy conditions as it will damage the motors and internal parts. If you're flying your drone at night, make sure it's properly equipped with a strobe light and that your drone is following the rules of your country. Flying in extremely hot conditions is bad for your battery and for your motors. Mistake number 4, flying backwards or sidewards. Flying in an orbit or in a circle or moving to the side can be very dangerous for a drone like the DJI Mini SE. Flying backwards in the shot to achieve this look can be dangerous as well, as there are no backward facing sensors on this drone. Now the Mavic Air 2, as seen on the screen here, have way more sensors. There are sensors to the front, there are sensors to the belly of the drone as well, and there are even sensors to the back of this drone, which mean that this drone will be more capable of doing autonomous flying. Now let's take a look at the DJI Mini SE to do a comparison. On the DJI Mini SE, we have 2 sensors at the bottom, and we also have a proximity sensor in the middle. But in terms of sensors, that's all we have. The 2 holes we have at the front are just vents. So in terms of sensing the environment, the DJI Mini SE would not be as capable as the Mavic Air 2. Mistake number 4, not practicing enough. It is true that if we want to become better at anything in life, we can't stop trying until we become the best. So it's best to start with basic moves like going up and down with the drone before we go to more advanced moves. Start simple, drone fans, and then work your way up the ladder. So yawing left and yawing right are simple exercises we can try with our left joystick. Now that we got that out of the way, we can see what it looks like in a real life setting. Remember, We want to get as much practice in as possible. Practice makes perfect. Be sure to select a big area with open space with no obstacles when you're flying for the first time. This way, if you make a mistake, there will be lesser consequences. If you make a mistake while practicing, that's okay. What it matters is that you learn from it and you become better. Mistake number 5. Flying without proper GPS connection. The DJI Mini SE, along with many modern drones, use the GPS outer space to position itself. It will send signals to the GPS and the global positioning system will send signals back. This is how it positions itself, and this is how we're able to see things on the maps generated by the app. When you're just launching the drone, you do not want to just take off and start flying with a limited number of satellites. It's best to allow the drone to hover for a while and collect some satellites, which will make your flight a whole lot smoother. The recommended is about 10 to 17 or more. It should also make the return home feature more reliable. Remember, drone fans, we want all these things to be in check so that if anything should happen, we have that safety net. Mistake number 6. Charging batteries while hot. It is never a good idea to charge a battery while it is hot, specifically because of the cells and how they work. When batteries are under hot conditions, they tend not to do very well. So you want to charge your batteries after they have cooled, and you want to make sure that you're using the right cable as seen in the video here. The DJI Mini SE uses a C-shaped cable, and so it can be charged this way, or it can be charged using the DJI Mini 2 charging up. This is the way I recommend because this is the way I charge my drone. It comes with multiple attachments that allow you to charge multiple batteries, up to 4 batteries. And the best part is, guys, you can charge them all simultaneously. If you know anything about the DJI manufactured charging hub, you know that the batteries are charged in succession, starting with the one with the highest charge, moving to the one with the second highest charge, and so on until all batteries are charged. Never charge your batteries while they're hot, guys. Very, very important. And you can see the terminal points here in this battery. It's a lithium ion polymer battery, and the attachment goes on like you want to start by lining up the ends with the terminals with the terminal of the battery. Very easy. So we're just gonna slide that in, and I'm holding it leveled so you guys can have a very good look, and we're just gonna pop that in, and there it is, nice and snug, and that won't be going anywhere anytime soon. The same principle can be applied to our controller. If your controller is warm or you've just used it, it's best to let it cool down for a while before you charge it. Remember, good battery care means waiting for the right time to charge and also charging for the right time. Charging under the right conditions makes a very big difference in terms of how long our battery lasts. The Mini 2 charging hub charges up to 6 devices all at the same time. So drone fans, you may want to consider getting this as an accessory. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. Mistake number 7. Leaving gimbal cover on during startup. It is true that you should always remove the gimbal cover before you start up. And the reason for this is because every time when you power this thing on, the gimbal will move up and down, and it will tend to rotate just for a little bit to calibrate itself. For this reason, you want to pop the gimbal cover off by applying a little bit of force in this gap here, while applying a little force at the front, and it comes off just like that. With the gimbal guard free, you can now launch the drone and you can start videoing. Always make a concerted effort to remove the gimbal cover before you launch. It can sometimes happen to even the most seasoned of flyers. So you can add this to one of your pre-flight checks before you fly. Mistake number 8. Sending the drone too far. This is one of the most common mistakes that newbie flyers make. They get so excited with the shot that they forget about the distance that the drone is traveling. You want to pay attention to these signals, guys. Where the battery icon is, it tells you the amount of power to return to home, the amount of power until forced landing, and the amount of power until the battery is depleted. When the forced landing feature is initiated, there's nothing you can do to stop this drone from landing. So you want to make sure that you keep your eyes on the time that you have left for flying and you don't send the drone too far. Mistake number 9. Storing your drone. Never ever store your drone inside a car because inside a car it's too hot. You want to store your drone in a cool surrounding as it's good for the batteries and for the internal parts. The way in which you store your drone also impacts the life of your drone. So, getting a special traveling case or bag will definitely improve the overall quality in terms of how long you have your drone. This special traveling case comes for the Mavic Air 2, and it even comes with impressions where you can rest the drone inside, as you will see now. Now, as we look inside this case, we see that there is a section for the drone and a section for the controller. There's also another compartment that I can stick the propellers in and any other attachments that I may have, like ND filters. Now, like all the DJI drones I know, or most of them, they can fold up, and you want to ensure that there's no batteries installed while you're storing your drone, because again, this will impact your battery life negatively. I'm collapsing the back legs so I can get this drone nicely folded up, and I'm collapsing the front legs now. So we start with the back followed by the front, and we do it the opposite when we're opening it. Now that the legs are folded, you want to remove the propellers. It's never a good idea to keep your propellers on, and the beauty about folded propellers is that it can take less space in your bag. So if you won't be flying for a while, you want to take those things off. So that's what I normally do. I normally remove my propellers. And the reason for doing this too, guys, is because you do not want the propellers to bend over time after having that force while it's inside the bag. So you want to keep your propellers nice and straight so that you can get a nice balanced flight. So I'm just carefully removing all the propellers before I tuck my Mavic Air 2 inside this bag. And now that that is finished, we can start by carefully placing the drone inside the impression that fits the drone. So we're just going to gently put that in there. And then up next is our propellers. So we're going to be taking our propellers and we're going to be tucking them into the other compartment. Here they are, 4 of them. So we're just going to put that in the other compartment. It is zip locked. So we're just going to open that zip. And normally, guys, I like to put my accessories in a Ziploc bag. It just kind of keeps moisture out and it's overall good for your parts. So I'm just going to tuck that in there, and I could just tuck that in since I would want to fly very soon. Now, when I'm storing it for a long period of time, I'll keep that in a Ziploc bag just to make sure that there's no moisture and to keep it shape. Now, last but not least is the controller. We want to make sure that the controller is properly taken care of. So we see the joystick compartments at the bottom, and that's what we're going to work on first. Start by screwing the right joystick out. Just going to tuck that in, and the left joystick. And this is great, guys, for even professional flyers or even newbies. It's just a great way to store all these parts and not having to worry about them. And there that is, just nice and snug. Now we're going to tuck the cable around, and we can just tuck that in. So it doesn't matter if it's a Mavic Air 2, it doesn't matter if it's a DJI Mini SE, you want to get the traveling bag, and if you can't get that bag, well, I suppose you can get another bag in the meantime, but it's got to be a bag that is strong and a bag that is not pressuring the parts of the drone. Alright, so you're storing your drone in a cool place, you're storing it in a specialized bag. Trust me, it's going to work out in the long run. So now we're just going to tuck this controller in the side where it belongs, and there it is, nice and snug. Look at that, that's so neat. And since we're all done with packing up, I suppose we can zip this bag up and it's ready for travel. We're nearly at the ending, guys. Here's a bonus tip for those who are new flyers. We want to press the button that is located on the underside of the drone once, and you'll see that it lights up. Now there are 4 lights here, and each representing a percentage of 25% each. So right now my battery level is about 75% charged. So as you can see, in order for it to be 100% charged, all 4 lights must light up. There are even more mistakes that weren't mentioned in this video. Was there one that you wanted to see but you didn't? Comment down below. Until then, it's Dung Drones over and out.